Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all over the world. Dobson 777A here. We've got an interesting show today. I thought I would start with this chart that I had put together on 4/8, where it's a 30-year Treasury yield. And I was able to get this from macrotrends.net. And this goes all the way back to before 1980. And I was pointing out that this is a chart that a lot of people follow. And you can see that the yield has been dropping significantly over this whole, or the interest rates have been dropping significantly over this whole time period. And we were reaching the top, and you can see that there's a cycle here. Kind of goes up and then down, but it's banging these rails. But at the same time, there's these periods of time where it appears to be hitting a different point that I've highlighted in red. And it appeared to me that there might have been a trend where this would be the high point of gold, and then this would be the low point, and then it would start going up again. That's the way this would work. So the question is on 4/8, were we going to break through this barrier and go in a different trend than what we had in the past, or were we going to break down? And I was suggesting that I felt that we were going to break down. Now the other thing is, you can notice the width of this is tightening up. So it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And this is the predicted pattern that we're going to have over this time period. So what happened since the 8th? Well, lo and behold, this is kind of a magnified view, but you can see we bounced off the top and am falling like in the past. We've seen this a number of times, and this can fall pretty substantially. So the question is gold going to go up, silver, platinum? And it actually has been since this point. So we're going to look at some of the charts now and kind of follow and see how this pans out. So here's a shorter period of time, and I was trying to show that we have kind of a wedge pattern here, but what I've done is I've kind of drawn a line here where we've tested this lower limit around 1680 roughly, and we've tested it twice and bounced off, and now we have a pretty significant jump coming off of this low point here. So the question is, are we going to break out of this almost like a pennant pattern here now? Is this going to go on a nice merry way? I mean, some people are predicting 2200 or more. So I don't know. It kind of looks like that may be the case. I'm not sure. Here is the infamous chart, which I need to spend a little bit more time. I just did this quick and dirty today, but I need to line this back up in this channel properly. But I was kind of trying to line this 50-week moving average off the bottom here. But you can see we busted completely through the bottom of the chart here, and this is the pitchfork chart that I've been using, but you can notice it's trying to crawl back up. So is this going to bounce off of this line and start heading back up, and we're going to see this getting back into the green channel? I think we may see some significant improvement in this chart. We'll see. Now, when we look at since the beginning of this recent bull market, which was back September, October 2018, I've kind of overlaid everything so we can see what's going on. And the bottom is TLT. This is the 20-year Treasury bond. It's an ETF. And you can see this has bottomed and started going up just at the same time that I was showing that we were bouncing off of that other chart. SPY, so this is at 18% over this time period, which is fantastic for a bond, truthfully. And then we have SPY is at 43%, again without dividends. This is just the ETF. And then gold is at 50%, platinum is at 53%, and silver is at 88.7%. And you can see silver's been trading in a pretty tight range here, so I don't know if we're going to see a breakout or not. Now keep in mind, this does not factor in the premiums it took for you to buy the physical metals. Silver has not performed nearly as well as you think when you factor in the premiums that you've had to pay. Gold back in 2018 was like 3.5%. Silver has always been 15 to 18 and currently is like 33%. So when you factor in those premiums, silver is not running away like you would think it is. And I cover this later in this video. But platinum is following, surprisingly, SPY. It's got very similar angle of attack here. You look at that angle, It's actually recently taken off faster than SPY. So it's going to be curious to watch this to see how it continues. Okay, here is a lesson that I continuously try to reinforce with you. You can't put all your eggs in one basket when you're investing. It's an old saying, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, if you trip and fall, you end up busting them all up. So you try to split them up. And I'm not talking about any extreme diversification, but it's using just common sense approach by looking at the volatility of anything, the stocks or bonds or precious metals in this case, even miners. So I've tried to encourage you, and I've shown you again what I'm doing, and I've told you before that I have probably 75% of my investments in physical real estate. In fact, not only just real estate, but single family home rental real estate. And it's because it pays me every month, mailbox money. I've talked about that over and over again. And then I take the other 25% and I split it up between physicals and miners. And of the physicals, I tell you to do 70% gold, 10% platinum, and 20% silver. So here we are year to date. Look at what's happened with gold, down 8%, silver's down 3.72%. Platinum is up 17% year to date. And I've been begging you to get into platinum. And here we are, it's getting its serious breakout here. And residential real estate, 21%. So what does that mean when you put it into a portfolio with approximately the same allocation as what I mentioned earlier? This is what it looks like. If you're sitting in silver, you're sitting down nearly 5%. If you're only in gold, you're down 6.45%. But platinum's up, and this is the ETF version, so it's a little bit different than the physicals, but it's fairly close. This allows me to kind of automatically do it. So we got gold down 6.45, platinum's up 15.76, but residential real estate's 18.46. So overall, this portfolio using this allocation shows that it's 11.29% year to date. Well, folks, we're only through April. This could be an unbelievable return this year. Now, the other thing is I went and looked at my holdings for the physicals, and occasionally I would do these calculations, and I haven't shown the overall chart for a while, but I looked at it from when I started buying, and I have some that was from 2016, but the majority of the purchases started towards the beginning of the fourth quarter of 2018. And I'm showing gold at 37.7% return in my portfolio, 45.7% return for platinum, and silver 46.7%. And this factors in all of the costs of purchasing. My overall portfolio return using the 70% gold, 10% platinum, and 20% silver. The numbers are off a little bit after, the way these have run up some. But anyways, I'm at a 40% return. And so even though I have a much higher percentage of gold, I'm still getting the bump from the other two things. And I'm not getting greedy. Again, you want to hold your portfolio with the most stable thing for the foundation. And gold is the most stable metal here. And then you build your pyramid up from there. And I would have platinum on top of gold, and I'd have silver on top of that. Silver is a major speculation. You shouldn't always be swinging for the fence. I've told you that. Take some calculated risk, but don't go crazy. And so here we are. This is the approach that I've been telling you, and it continuously pays off. So I am thrilled with the approach that I've done, and the miners are, coming along very nicely. So as we get the next level bump, we'll see the reward in that as well. But anyways, I just wanted to fill you in for that. This is an amazing opportunity you have, and this is a fairly short time we've been investing this, and the returns are phenomenal. JP Morgan is fearing a major correction in crypto again. In fact, they're suggesting it could be a 50% retracement. Somewhere in here I read this. We could pull back 20 to 30,000, which would be a 50% decline. Anybody notice each of these countries are either planning on banning crypto, or they're coming up with their own cryptocurrency. So Britain is now, or the UK are coming up with something called a Britcoin. Do you think they're going to want competition? No, they're not going to want competition. So, you know, I don't know how much time you got left with Bitcoin before it's going to be completely not allowed for transactions, but the writing's on the wall, folks, so I hope you're paying attention. I want to show some inflation-related stuff. Sorry I didn't have this right. Companies are freaking out about soaring costs and are rushing to pass them on to customers. So we got Procter & Gamble, which last year, you know, a lot of the stuff was made in CCP, if you remember, and it was they couldn't get all the raw ingredients, and we had massive shortages of all these. I mean, I forget, there's thousands of brands under P&G. Kimberly-Clark and even Coca-Cola have discussed lifting prices because they're not going to eat these increases for any substantial length of time. So this is coming. This is coming. Inflation, folks. That's what that's going to be. Massive price increases. Let's see. And here's the article about Coca-Cola set to rise. The price is set to rise amid soaring cost pressures. A lot of you have recognized that we are having a problem with home materials, house building materials, and lumber is a massive increase that we've seen in a lot of these starting, I think it was around October. And so there was an article on Zero Hedge about this, and it's actually quite amazing, this vertical leap that's occurred here. It actually was coming up in something, and then it collapsed, and some plants were shut down, and now it's just launched like to the moon. But a lot of this was when all of the stimulus checks started coming in. So people were releasing money, and it is creating some significant problems. And we also had a lot of the rioting and everything else, and people are getting the crap out of the cities. So anyways, that's kind of the report for the day. Take a look at the back where I'll show some of the garden and progress that we're making.
All right, it's that time of year to break out the rototiller. And there's a couple things I went through. First off, luckily last year, I ran this thing completely out of gas. So when I filled it up, it started right up, no problem. But another interesting thing you need to be aware of, these tires, the tire pressure is pretty critical. And I'll show you something down here. Last year I ran them, and there's actually a note here that says, make sure the pressure is 25 to 30 psi to avoid tire damage. Well, if you notice, the hole here by the valve stem is kind of enlarged. Well, what happens if the tire pressure is not high enough? This equipment is so heavy, and the wheel will slip on the rim, and it'll actually pull that stem inside. Just a mistake on my part, you know, didn't think about unintended consequences of low tire pressure, but fortunately the rim wasn't damaged bad enough, and all you do is you let the pressure out, so that, because there's an inner tube inside, and that's what's slipping. The inner tube will slip, and so what you can do is just kind of slide the inner tube back into place, carefully put some pressure up. So this morning I got the pressure up to 30 psi. And I was very pleased the way this thing started right up. Now, I'm just a few weeks late from when I normally am rototilling, so I've noticed there's a whole bunch of grass over there, so I'll show you when I get over there. But I've got a little bit of a trek to get this equipment over there. And what I'm going to do then is rototill the grass, and then I just rake the grass down the hill. And then I go back and rototill the soil a little bit more, and it works fantastic. So anyways, this is a Home Depot special. I don't remember what I paid. I did a video last year that talked about this, but it's a PowerMate. And this is actually a fantastic machine. I wish these handles were a little beefier, that's all, because when you're trying to horse this thing around a turn or something, it seems a little spindly, but otherwise this is a workhorse. It's fantastic for like small homeowners where you're working on stuff. This is meant for like an open field. You can't really do it in a raised bed, so I've got my small electric one for the raised beds. All right, let me get over there and get to work. Okay, it took quite a bit of work, but I've got my 4 rows exposed that I developed last year. And you can see it's a terrace as it goes down. I'm probably going to put one more terrace down at the lowest level there. That'll take quite a bit of work to get that kind of leveled out into rows like I've got here. But I've still got to come in here and rake all the grass out. But I think this is it for today. This is about an hour and a half worth of work. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and potentially start planting. I've got a bunch of summer squash that's ready. Might be a little bit too early for that, but we'll see.
Now here's an image from way up on high so you can see the large area that I've rototilled, and that's my lower garden that I do all kinds of Three Sisters planting and such, but it'll be fantastic this year just like last. It looked like Vietnam last year as much as that grew up. Word to the wise, if you go try to turn off your rototiller, do not put your hand on the exhaust manifold or you'll get a nice Reed and Prince burn spot as well as a nice circle. That's a reminder of be very careful when you're dealing with very hot engines where you put your hand. And I was just leaning over to hit the switch and just wasn't paying attention where I was putting my hand.
Well, I've got some cold nights coming, and I picked up these sweet potato slips about a week ago, and I've been holding them in the greenhouse because we have, I think, the last cold snaps coming through this week. And then I'm thinking the beginning of May I'm going to start putting in all my tomatoes and everything. But you can see I've transplanted my beefsteak tomatoes into larger pots, and I had pinched the tops, and they've actually grown like crazy since I've transplanted them. I've got some more over here. Some of these are cherry tomatoes and eggplants and stuff, so I've got to transfer those here real soon. I have a couple gladiolas starting to peak up, and then these are some more wildflowers and some morning glories. Oh geez, the morning glories are hitting up. I got to take the top off of this. That just happened really quick. These plants grow super big, so we'll see what they how they go. Let me get this over here. Those were big seeds. Let me see what's going on in here. Yeah, this one must have been a batch of seeds because that was a whole bunch of wildflowers again, and they didn't come out all. Must have been a bad package. But here's a whole bunch of morning glories. Now these are massively large plants. I forget what it said, like 6 to 8 feet tall, that they'll grow like a vining plant. So I'm going to plant these all around the yard. And depending on how cold the climate is, they can be actual perennials. So we'll see if they survive here or not. Anyways, I've already planted a bunch of wildflowers, and these are kind of like some of the other ones that I need to get in the ground. I still got to plant a whole bunch of squash and watermelons and stuff like that, but it's just a little too cold. In fact, my corn is going to go in the ground probably this week too.
How about a few garden picks? Here's some roses, dogwood, azaleas, and my Doug, lazy dog. He's so happy. I hope everybody's treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.
All right, go potty. We gonna go bye-bye? Are we gonna go bye-bye? Here we go bye-bye. Yeah. We gonna go bye-bye? Yeah, all right. You going to get in the car? We're not quite ready. I'm almost ready. You almost ready? Okay.